Yeah, it was a really interesting challenge. Not so much as like playing like more not dramatic circumstances, because I've done that before, but playing someone who is so fresh in people's minds and that people like have like an active care for. It's like I think about like Abraham Lincoln or something, right? And you know, people care about Abraham Lincoln, but those personal relationships don't still exist, and so it's really scary when, you know, everyone has a right to be like a legitimate critic, because he was very public, and you know, there are people here that probably have probably know him way better than I do. Like they shook his hand and knew him, like hung out with him, and so that's terrifying, especially when you're playing somebody that people really admired. It is scary to do.
You mentioned that you admired him also.
Yeah.
Do you think you admire him more now that you played, you know, that role?
I appreciate him more. I admired him more before. The closer you get to who someone is and how they tick, and the more you dig, the more you sort of find their flaws, that they're a flawed human being just like everyone else. And you know, when he was just a superhero, Steve Jobs, for me, he was just a superhero. And then once I realized how human he was and where his humanity came from, I started to appreciate him more as a person.
Thank you. All right, AP.
You're such a high-tech guy and a digital innovator yourself. It's like you've been sort of preparing your whole life to play this role. Did it feel that way when you finally took it on?
You know what was nice is that when I was preparing for the character, I could still work on product development for technology companies, like, and I would sort of stay in character, in the mode of the character, but I didn't feel like I was compromising the work I was doing on the film by working on technology stuff. So it was pretty much, it was in the same field. I think my comments to some of the companies I work with became a little bit more direct and confident, but it was actually a coup.
You started to maybe embody him a little in your other efforts.
Yeah, I don't know that that's possible. I'm not nearly as intelligent as he was as a human being. Like, he was a pretty brilliant man. So I think I just, you know, for me it was just like being able to continue to work with these companies and do things. And by, you know, there's a guy, Dave Moore, and he's got a company called Path, and he used to work for Steve. And so we would be working on product, and I'd be asking him questions about Steve. Or I met with Alan Kay, who invented object-oriented programming, the GUI, and met with Avi Tavanian, who built OpenStep, and like actually being able to learn about technology and stuff that I actually already care about while working on a movie was great.
And how did playing him and getting that sort of background stuff increase your understanding of him, and what do you hope that audiences will take away from this portrait?
You know, well, there's two things really. First, I would say, I don't know if there's ever been an entrepreneur that had more compassion and care for their consumer than Steve Jobs. Like, he wanted to put something in your hand that you could use, and you could use it easily, that worked well and seamlessly, and didn't break down, and was a reliable product. And he really cared about that. And so I think, you know, as a businessman, like understanding how deeply he cared about his consumer and his product, that was one thing. And the second thing was his intense focus. He had an unrelenting focus that a friend of mine told me that the greatest thing he ever said to him was, there's no virtue in saying no to the things that are easy to say no to. And it reshifts the way you approach things, because it's, you know, when you're working on something, it's easy to say no to this thing or that thing. But when it's something else that's also really good, saying no to that's really hard. And focus is when you say no to that, because you believe so much in the core goal or the vision. And I learned a lot about that.
Did you have any experience like that with the Rivaling Jobs movie?
I don't even think they. No, I mean they don't have a script or anything yet. Like they're not like so it wasn't really a part of my. I don't think it's a rivaling movie until they have a screenplay. Like, but I don't think it's going to be the same at all. From what I heard, they're doing like 3 scenes of his life, and I doubt that it'll be some of the scenes that we have.
All right, you're naturally. No. Sorry, you guys. They're at the 1 minute mark.
Oh.
Right down here.